So I know behind me does not look like the normal setup, but it's time for me to talk tonight because these are my confessions.
See them, one more year on the blog of them. Then I gonna live to see Babbzy broke again. She get the wings them, so she not stuck again. Got the bad mind out of luck, but she have some hard work you put in. And them a block the door, never want you put a foot in. But what fi bip, happy bip. No man can try take what happy we end. So big up, off, big up, and all on up to get big up, chuck off. Babbzy, wait up that big and serious and a smiley face. No laugh, watch that.
What's good, everybody? It's your girl Babbzy here, a confessional video for you today because it's time for us to have this conversation about the whole rebranding talk and everything that's been going on. I know a lot of you have been like, what's happening? What are you going to be doing? Are you going to be retiring? Da da da. So I just want to kind of make everything clear because bits of the conversation happen on Facebook, bits of the conversation happen on Instagram. So I just want to put one whole consistent message out. I'm going to be doing a written blog after this so that everybody can understand what is happening and what I'm going to be doing and what's going to be going down. So as you know, I talked about rebranding last year. I actually talked about retiring last year. Everybody was like, don't retire, don't this, don't that. And you know, I've talked about falling out of love with blogging, all these other things. A lot of people don't want to know what's happening. Some people do know, some people don't know. So I just want to kind of bring this all in so that people can kind of really get the gist of what I'm going through and why, you know, I'm still kind of here, you know, doing things pitchy-patchy in a certain sense. One of the bloggers that I started following when I first started blogging was a blogger by the name of Nicole Bitchy. Now, Nicole Bitchy has now rebranded to Nicole, and she's a positivity blogger as well as like fitness and stuff like that, where when she started as Nicole Bitchy, she was a gossip celebrity blogger. So apparently she got tired of the gossip celebrity blogging and she just one day woke up, stopped doing it, and then was like, I'm rebranding and I'm going to be doing something different going forward. In her rebranding, I followed her and she struggled tremendously because she kind of just went cold turkey, cut off all the sponsors, cut off everything, and then just went somewhere new. And it was a very big struggle for her. And in my mind, I was like, no matter what I go through, I don't want to go through that, which is kind of why I've been pitchy patchy doing my rebranding in a kind of a transition format, because I didn't want to just go cold turkey like what Nicole Bitchy did and then run into like financial issues and stuff like that. On a lot of my outlets, you might be noticing that my branding is changing. You may not be seeing the Caribbean Cultural Ambassador or the West Indian Governor as much because I've rebranded to basically being culturally Caribbean, socially Canadian. And there's a very, very specific reason for that, what I'm going to talk to you about today, because it's really time for me to be honest about, you know, what's going on around me, what this whole blogging thing is really bringing, and how much, you know, is just too much of a tug of war. And it's like, now is just time to kind of change direction. So I just kind of want to talk about that. As a child growing up, I've always identified as a Bajan person. I can remember from the time I was in junior kindergarten, I'm a Bajan, I'm Bajan, I'm Bajan, I'm Bajan. As I got a little bit older, I identified as a Caribbean person. As you know, I always talk about them. My first friends, real friends that I could go by, eat from, spend time with were my friends Jai and Kima Ablak, who are Trinidadian Indians. It doesn't matter what their ethnicity is, right? Indian. But I'm going to explain to you why I said that in a few minutes. Is going to make sense. But as a child, as I said, I grew up knowing that, you know, Antiguans are my neighbors. The whole Caribbean is united. You know, the Bahamas, you know, Bermuda, all of these islands basically make up the Caribbean. We're West Indians and we're all together, as well as even like, you know, Belize, Nicaragua. My dad had a lot of friends from there, Guyana. So it's like I've always just looked at us as always being the same culturally, and we're just all united as one. Now, speaking of my father, growing up in my home in Toronto, you know, a lot of people that I grew up with, they grew up on Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, you know, Rod Stewart. I didn't grow up listening to these people at all. Like, my dad did not listen to country music, period. My dad only played soca, you know, zouk, you know, reggae primarily, and he had almost every single record or cassette that you could think of. So from the time I can can remember, like Someone Loves You Honey, Barbara Jones, Young Love. Those were the kinds of songs that I grew up listening to. I acted as kind of a selector type of a kid. So from like around age 3, 4, I was patching up rhythms and pairing stuff and doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? My dad really liked Dennis Brown. They were actually like acquaintances, as well as he was an acquaintance with Gregory Isaacs. He kind of knew them because when they would come to events in Toronto, obviously my dad would be there, and they kind of had like a warm relationship. So, you know, the latest Gregory Isaacs, the latest Dennis Brown would be playing in my house regularly. Now, I did get to learn about like Rod Stewart and these people because of covers. So like I found out about Rod Stewart through Sanchez. Some Guys Have All the Luck, right? Obviously he remixed it and did all that stuff. So I knew who these people were, but I didn't know their music. I only knew their music if somebody covered it. So my entire childhood, I grew up in a home that only played Caribbean music. I never heard even really like Bobby Brown and stuff like that. I used to hear at school sometimes, but like mostly in my home, it was always strictly soca, calypso, reggae, ska, that type of thing. As I got older, I got introduced to dancehall. You might hear me telling this story. Carnell, sorry, I'm calling your name again. And he had just come up from Jamaica in the late 80s. You know, he was friends with my brother, and he had a Peeny Peeny cassette tape, and on that cassette tape he had Hold Up Fresh and those kinds of songs, and from then it's always been dancehall. For me, I've always kind of been dancehall soca split. As my brother got older, my brother dropped soca and kind of was like dancehall, reggae, hip hop. So he was like Lords of the Underground, that kind of thing. But I was more like dancehall, reggae, soca, calypso split. Plus I went to crop over all the time and stuff like that. You know, I play 14 instruments, saxophone, piano, you name it. So music has kind of always been a part of what I do. So when I started blogging, you know, I could talk about a variety of topics, but I wanted to talk about my culture. Especially when I first started blogging, I started to realize that there are a lot of people out here, especially Bajans and other Caribbean people that live overseas. They were primarily my first fan base. Like, so the ones that lived in America, the ones that lived in Canada, you know, the UK. The UK was my biggest size fan base for years, you know. And then I had a lot of Bajan people messaging me that lived in Sweden, that lived in Germany, that lived in Korea, that lived in, you know, China, Hong Kong, you know, you name it. And it was like my Bajan videos was like the only thing they had to link them to home. And then on top of that, other people that were like from St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and these places, my videos still kind of gave them a sense of feeling at home, because back then, you know, it wasn't like how it is now when it comes to social media and all these vloggers and people that are out here. And social media and internet wasn't even as big as it is now. So my blog primarily was always for Caribbean people that lived in the diaspora. That's always been my largest fan base. But over the years, I've expanded, obviously, and I started to get fans living in the islands. And this is kind of where things started to fall apart, because again, I'm culturally Bajan, I'm culturally Caribbean, but I'm socially Canadian. So now talking about social issues in the Caribbean that's happening in Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, there is a serious difference of, you know, opinion, approach, strategy, mentality, because I'm coming from a Canadian mentality and I'm talking to people who have a Caribbean mentality, which is why sometimes, well, most times, I've always felt like I'm speaking a different language to these people. And what is it that is making me butt heads with these people all the time? Now, not every island is like that. You know, Bajans are pretty good. And because I understand Bajans socially a lot more, we don't really butt heads too often. Trinidad, they've pretty much been very, very calm whenever we discuss current events going on in Trinidad, whether it's a murder, a rape, you know, some kind of situation. You know, they have ISIS issues and terrorist issues, you know, and they've always just come on my fan page, which is the bulk of what I do. Is on Facebook, and my fan page is a melting pot of people from all over the world. Primarily in the beginning, it was Caribbean people, diaspora Caribbean people. Now it's three groups of people. It's non-Caribbean folks who make up 50% of that page, right? And then it's 25% of the people living in the diaspora, maybe 30, and then 25 to 20% of people living in the Caribbean. So we have three types of mentalities meshing together. But the diaspora people and the non-Caribbean people, their mentalities kind of align. But it's the people in the Caribbean who seem to not really be on the same page with a lot of us when it comes to a lot of the issues, which is where my brand is in turmoil right now, because I have to drop somebody to save my brand. So in looking at my stats, in looking at my money, in looking at what I like, in looking at what is the best move for me, the rebranding move is to drop the Caribbean social topics, primarily in Jamaica, full-fledgedly in Grenada. So as you know, there's been a rift with my page and Grenadian people since last year. I have nothing against Grenadian people. I'm not the kind of person who's going to try to salvage something with people who don't want to salvage something with you. So Grenadian topics have been dropped since last year. I'm seeing a lot of comments flying back and forth about, oh, you're carrying feelings, you're in your feelings, you're butthurt, you're this and that. No, I'm actually not. Let me tell you why Grenada cannot be discussed on my platform, period. The main issue is that on social media, there is a large presence of people who are Grenadian that have no behavior. And when I say no behavior, I'm referencing this whole, you can't have an opinion. If you say something we don't like, we gon' threaten your mother cunt, blah, 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 blah. Me personally, I'm not afraid of nobody. But for my brand and my platform, this is a total and utter nightmare. So when the whole bacchanal went on last year and people were like, you said this about Grenadians, and people were trying to actually counsel them and be like, Babbzy did not say that. Non-Grenadian people, by the way, it's like Grenadians are in their inbox talking about they're gonna cut them up, chop them up, whatever. They tried to say that this was all about me and they're not like this and they don't do this to people, and I'm telling you that that's a lie. I've witnessed people out of nowhere be innocently attacked. I've watched a Trinidadian chef, Jason Paul, make Trinidadian oil down. The national dish for Grenada is Grenadian oil down. And I've watched Grenadian people threaten to kill this man online if he makes oil down like that ever again, blah, 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 blah. That type of behavior to me is unacceptable by any means. You cannot threaten people because of what they're cooking for dinner. And if you're doing that, there's something wrong with you. I watched it happen to Rachel Price. She made oil down. Trinidadian oil down is not the same thing as Grenadian oil down. The same way Bajan pizza is not the same thing as Italian pizza. But it's like, whatever it is on their social media that they're socialized to behave like, it's nothing like the rest of us. And that kind of interaction I cannot have on my platform. So if somebody says something about Talpri song that they don't like it, Grenadians will attack that person for saying that. Not all of them, but there's a very big gang of them on social media that act like you're not allowed to have an opinion on nothing, and you're not allowed to say anything contrary to what they want you to believe, or what they want you to think, or what they want you to say. There is no way I am going to have a brand where my fans are going to be commenting wherever they live, because where they live, they're probably allowed to have an opinion, and be battling against people who are telling people they're not allowed to have an opinion. I can't have that. That is a recipe for disaster. So I would love to share the new jab music, but if somebody says they don't like Talpri song, I cannot diffuse a friggin' ton load of Grenadian people threatening to kill people on my fan page. It has happened too many times, and it's not happening anymore. So no, I don't want to say something wrong about Talpri or whoever it is, Jamu. So the best thing for me is to say nothing about these people ever in life, period. It's funny because a woman recently messaged me and she was just like, oh, Babbzy, when is the carnival happening in small island beside Grenada? And I was like, Karakou? And she was like, yeah. I was like, oh, it happened in February. She's like, but I didn't hear nothing about it. I was gonna sail down there with me and my 20 friends. And I was like, I don't say nothing about them, period. And she was like, oh, wow. So how am I supposed to get information on this? It's like, You don't realize by barking down people and not allowing them to have an opinion, they just cut you off and blank you. So they were just like, oh, we'll just go sail to Union Island and then we're going to go to St. Vincent and we'll go up the... I was going to visit Grenada, but that was it. Conversation done. 20 people now. That's jobs, taxis, all kind of people, supermarkets. That's not going to be able to get that money from tourism because people are not out here promoting the island because you can't talk about Grenada. People will cuss the shit out of you. So it's like until the positive and the intelligent Grenadians can get a hold of that social media gang group, that can't be on my platform, period. I don't care who's offended. It's not meant to offend. There's no way I'm going to allow my brand of almost a decade to come under attack because somebody didn't like, Top Striker. Like, that's not going to be a part of my reality. It never will be. And that's just the end of that right there. So the next issue that I want to talk about is the situation that's going on with Jamaica and my platform. This has been an off and on rocky situation for years. Again, it's something social that Canadians and Jamaicans are just not similar. I am similar to the Jamaicans that live in Canada because they are socialized to be Canadian. So I can have a conversation with Jamaican people that I grew up with. I can have a conversation with Jamaican people anywhere in Toronto, in New York. When I walk around in the streets, it's not a problem. But for some reason, it's like I'm speaking a different language when I'm speaking to somebody that's in Jamaica about some social issue happening in Jamaica. And again, it's at the point where my brand is suffering because of it. So it's like, I took dancehall off my platform years ago, and the only reason that I brought dancehall back was for one reason. It's because the artists want me to bring it back. When I see these guys on the road, from Governor to, I see these people when I do road, like of all the vloggers, I do road the hardest. I'm at almost every reggae dancehall event out here. And when these guys see me, they're like, yo, how come you not vlog? How come you not drop this? How come you not drop that? I'll be like, yo, dog, people am going to this and that. They'll be like, yo, Babbzy, I can't, nah, dog, but it's at a breaking point because, again, engagement is what makes my brand. There's other vloggers who can just put videos up and they never have to comment, they never whatever, and they have 100,000 followers and they're good. What always made me stand out from every other vlogger is my engagement, and especially on my fan page where my engagement is at an all-time high. Like on an average week when I'm not vacationing, my engagement is at 5 million people plus. I generally come in between 5 to 10 million people engaged per week, and everybody's always been envious on how I keep my fan page under so much control and the people are not disrespectful. And the reason being is because I'm really there, and I'd be like, yo, you can't deal with people this way and you can't deal with people that way. But now, because of whatever's going on in Jamaica that I have no clue, there is a problem when you're talking about news in Jamaica. I did a video earlier this year when the two Canadian people, Canadian citizens, were murdered in Jamaica. They were originally from Jamaica, lived in Canada for 53 years, went back for Christmas and were murdered there in their vacation home. I was so touched by that story because I saw my own parents. So to me, this had nothing to do with Jamaica. This had nothing to do with where this incident transpired. To me, it was me being empathetic to the scenario, not knowing how those two people's children would feel to know that their mom and dad were killed in their homeland vacationing. Like, I see my own mom and dad in that story because they came to Canada during that same time in the 70s, late 60s, when there was no black people, when there was you could not buy a roti anywhere. Like, they lived through that. And these two elderly people were in Winnipeg. Winnipeg has like 1 month of summer per year. Do you know how hard life would have been for them out there for 53 years to go back in Jamaica and be killed? So to me, it had nothing to do with Jamaica. It had to do with the mentality of some disgusting human being, which is rampant in society in every nation. It's a problem all over the world that you think that you have the right to go and hog tie and kill two elderly people that trotted their whole life and fought. But all of a sudden, I'm being jumped on by Jamaican people talking about stay the fuck out of our business. And I'm like, these two people are Canadian. Oh, go talk about what happened in Syria. No, because I don't want my friend's mom who's planning to move to Jamaica next week after she retires to be killed either. What are you talking about? And it's so weird to me when these comments, it's like you used to see them 5 and 6 years ago every now and then, but now it's like stay out of Jamaican people business. You grudge us. You this. I grudge you because 2 Canadians were killed and it's international news and I'm speaking about it and I'm giving my opinion about it and you're telling me to stay the fuck out of y'all business and you think I'm gonna fight you on that? And the truth of the matter is Jamaica is the 3rd largest Caribbean following I have behind Trinidad and Guyana. I have so many Jamaican fans that look to me from my insight and from my reviews. But if you think that I'm gonna be posting content about what's going on in your nation and talking about it, and then you're gonna come and cuss me and tell me to mind my own blood clot business, I'm gonna mind my own blood clot business. And you know what's unfortunate is that you're crumbling from the inside. And nations like Jamaica, if you don't get external help, you will crumble. And all of you are going to keep being like, yo, we're strong, we're Talawa. Yeah, but there's nobody helping you. And if there was anybody with the expertise internally to help you, they would have stepped up and helped you. They would not watch your murder rate spiral out of control. The issue is internal. And you cannot fix an internal issue without external assistance. But if you think I'm going to come up here day in and day out and try to enlighten you to your own problems, you're joking. The other day, Sean Paul had to come up here and beg for blood for his father. He's a millionaire in Jamaica. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. If your healthcare system is not in order, you could be rich, you could be poor, you're in trouble. Jay Capri died and she needed a blood transfusion as well. You want to know about me? The other day I almost died too. But I needed 4 pints of blood and I got it in seconds. I didn't have to come on a video and beg. I didn't have to come and do that. But how did we get here? How did we get here? We got here by paying attention to shit. We didn't get here by fighting people who's talking the truth. And I'm not gonna keep fighting every single day on my platform for problems going on in y'all place. I grew up listening to dancehall music. Peeny Peeny Pon You and, Fimigun na Giant Lodge and Nit na Giant Church for me was out of the admiration of these individuals as artists. It had nothing to do with Jamaica. It had nothing to do with me wanting to be Jamaican. It had to do with me seeing the ability to recognize the talent and Bounty and Beanie and Shaba and these people. But you guys are fighting that out of me because if you think that me talking about dancehall makes me want to be Jamaican, let me make this very clear for every single one of you because I saw these comments on my Yogi Pharrell video that I want to be Vincentian. You're joking. And the reason why I don't answer some of you is because you're going to take my answer as disrespect. I want to be nothing else but Bajan. I am 1,010% proud of my Suriname family from my grandfather's side, from my Trinidad family, from my grandmother's side. Like, there's nothing wrong with where I come from and where my lineage is. I'm not ever going to tell you I want to be anything else but Bajan. And anybody who even insults me to come and be like, you want to be Jamaican, you are fucking crazy. Because you have your things and we have our things. And I don't want to be Jamaican. I don't want to be Vincy. I don't want to be nothing else but the Bajan Canadian that I am. I am very proud of where I come from and I'm very proud of my family. So if listening to dancehall means in 2018 that I want to be Jamaican, I will no longer listen to dancehall. If that is what it means in this day and age, I am not going to ever insult my own heritage. To me, as a person who plays 14 instruments from piano to saxophone to flute to clarinet to trumpet to trombone, it's always been about the music for me because Afro beats touches me. When I hear flipping rap music, there's certain lyrics. When I listen to DMX, what these bitches want from a nigga. I don't want to be American, but I respect DMX as an artist. And you all are killing that vibe on social media, because every time you say something, and the other day I said something about Cargo. I said Cargo's album is not soca. You want to know something funny? It's not soca. And every DJ and every person out here agrees with me. But you want to see the comments that was underneath my video? Somebody said to me that them wish my mother blood clot dead when she was at the hospital the other day, because if my mother did dead, I would have been running around trying to find money for bury her, and I couldn't talk about Cargo. And in my mind, I said, if this topic brings these people, I want nothing to do with this kind of music. And if dance hall is gonna bring this type of troll in my world, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So for me, I'm going to be talking about dancehall at a very high level. On the bun down each week, we were going to be talking about soca artists, soca music, soca content, and American music and American content. We will very minimally be talking about what's happening in Jamaica, what's happening with Jamaican artists, what's happening in dancehall music, because I realize that people are associating, if you say something about Cargo, that you're disrespecting all of Jamaica, and I do not have time for that mentality. Two, I realize that whatever's going on in Jamaica socially, there is a war against the woman in Jamaica, and I don't know what's going on, but all I know is that where I'm from, women are allowed to have opinion on man topics. I see Jameel Hill and the champion girl on ESPN and all these channels talking about football and routes and fourth downs. These people are highly respected in what they do. Women are allowed to have opinions on any topic. The other day, Cam Newton tried to talk to a reporter, a female reporter, talking about, oh, it's interesting to hear when women talk about routes, and he got ripped for that, because there's no reason why a woman can't know about routes. And for me, the Caribbean right now is too far behind in gender relations for me to even step backwards and go back in that mess, because there is a war against the woman in almost every island. Women are being killed by their lovers, women are being killed left, right, and center. And please don't talk to me about America, because I live in Canada, one of the top 10 countries in the world for standard of living, for happiest nation, for like anything you want to Google about Canada, trust me, it's up there. And as a Canadian, I've been socialized to believe that I can chase any dream, I can be anything I want to be, I can do anything I want to do, and I can have an opinion on any topic that I want to have an opinion on. And I'm not going to spend my glory days arguing with somebody sitting down in Jamaica telling me that I'm not allowed to have an opinion on Tommy Lee or Vibes Cartel or whatever. I have zero time for that, because when I grew up, the Jamaicans that I grew up with, which were hundreds of them, we could talk about Bounty and Beanie all day. Nobody's mom had to get sucked, and nobody's head back had to get splashed out on a wall. And for the life of me, I don't understand what is going on. I sat here last week and watched videos going up in my playlist. I watched 3 Jamaican dudes living in Jamaica talking about Emily and Fabulous, the whole domestic issue. All 3 men were like, well, if Emily go up on the road and she not tell me with a box her down too. And I said to myself, where are you socially that you can come on your Instagram live and talk about beating a woman because she did something you didn't want to do? Because in Canada, you will never see a Canadian man get up on a live and talk like that. He might do it, but for him to feel socially comfortable enough to come out and talk about dragging out a woman and beating her if she went somewhere that he didn't authorize, you would never see that, because beating women is not socially acceptable in Canada. Threatening women is not socially acceptable in Canada. So when I'm coming from a story of empathy, when I see 2 elderly people get killed, and you're telling me to shut the fuck up, I realize as a Canadian, we're empathetic to all fucking situations in the world. That's why Syrians can come in Canada. That's why we friggin' have concern for everybody. But I'm supposed to ignore a story because it happened in Jamaica? Cool. You know what I mean? I'm watching people say things and do things that I'm like, we are nothing alike socially. You know, and Trinis are not like that. I can talk about any topic that comes out of Trinidad. If I post something that come out of Guyana, people get killed in Guyana every day. People get killed in Trinidad every day. When we post these stories, people can talk, people can converse, and it's a mature conversation, and people are finding out about what's happening in other places around the world, what's happening in their homeland, what's happening in the land that their grandparents are from, A lot of people who follow me, they're second generation English, but their grandparents were Bajan, their grandparents were Trinidadian, their grandparents were Guyanese, and they're dead, and they have no way of finding out information on this stuff, and they look to people like me for information, for dancehall vlogging. Look, most people who follow me don't understand patois. That's why they follow me. If you look at 99% of the dancehall vloggers, all of them report in patois. There's a billion people out here that want to know what's happening with cartel, but they can't understand the vloggers because they're talking in patois. So it's like they follow me. Now, where are they going to get their dancehall information from? Because you run me out, you kick me out of it. So now, where are they going to get their info from? It's like, I don't understand. You in a nation crumbling from the inside. You don't want nobody outside talking about you. You don't want nobody outside talking about dancehall. How do you expect your music to sell? How do you expect to get on shows? How do you expect to... I don't relate to the mentality. And there's something wrong. And for me, I tried to work with it and tried to be with it. And I know I'm going to have so much Jamaican people in the comments and be like, Babbzy, I can't believe you give up. Babbzy, I can't believe it's not. But yo, for the sanity of my life, yo, when somebody tells me that they wish my mom died because I said Cargo's album is soca, we have a problem, and this is not someplace I want to be. I'm on the wrong side of town again. I live in the suburbs, yo. It's like there's something wrong. And it's not internet gangsterism. It's not keyboard thugging. It's another problem. So you see people get up and drive their truck and knock over people. You're shocked. I'm not. I see the mentality of many of you. You all are on a fucking train ride to hell, yo. You have no empathy for nothing. When I'm talking about Yugi Pharrell could be your daughter who got caught up with the wrong man who's very powerful, who flung her somewhere and she did not have a voice. And the hard-faced Bajan that dying to be Vinci talked about her. And you know what you're mad about in my comments? That Andrew Pilgrim, a Bajan lawyer, is who got her out. You couldn't even look in your heart and be like, yo, thank God she's not in some mental institution being drugged to death. All you could say was Babbzy and Andrew Pilgrim are Bajan trying to come and take over St. Vincent. Take over St. Vincent to do what? Where does a dumb idea like that come from? Please tell me. What am I coming in St. Vincent to take over? What am I coming in Jamaica to come and do? Why do I want to be from these places? Tell me, explain to me, because I'm born in Canada, raised in Canada, and I need a visa to go nowhere. So tell me why I want to be from a place where women can't even have an opinion. Tell me why I want to be in a place that when my fiance gets a paternity test, he's ostracized for it, because where he's from, you're supposed to shut up and mind the jacket child that you have and say nothing. And stand there and be the man and shut your mouth and take care of somebody else's child. Because where he's from, he's not allowed to have any rights. Because people have no rights. But where I'm from, a DNA test and finding out what your future holds is the right thing to do. But where a lot of you from, it's the wrong thing. So tell me why I want to go back into oppression. It makes no sense. People like me don't look back. People like me, I know people who are Jamaican that want nothing to do with Jamaica that live in Canada. The only thing that they do when they go to Jamaica is they go to the all-inclusive and they stay at the Grand Bahia Principe or one of them places. They do not go to Tivoli. They do not go where they're from, and they want nothing to do with Jamaican people. Those are the kinds of people that I know. They're thankful for the piece of information that I give them, but they themselves are not going back. I know Guyanese people that are not going back to Guyana. I know people who flee and they're illegal. If Jamaica's so nice and so great, why are so much people illegal? Why are so much people illegal from Trinidad, and why are people fleeing where they're from? But if home is so great, it's like you're confusing this message, and I don't want to be on this roller coaster any longer. And I can talk about any topic, and I'm going to prove to you. So that's why the bun down the Caribbean music rundown is going to be 100% soca focused. We're going to talk about our soca artist. Machelle just taught a guy how to play the drums in America and teach him how to play soca on the drums. Like, we can talk about anything. I always wanted to give my entire region the shine, but Jamaicans are saying I'm using Jamaica to criticize and look down on them because I have no time for that kind of stupid conversation. I grew up around Jamaican. My best friend is Jamaican. She's even like, yo, it's time to drop this, Babbzy. You are arguing with people that you should not be arguing with. Go forward. Change over to the American stuff. Change over to your soca and trot forward. Your fans will follow you wherever you go. You will always grow and you will always get big. Because if these people think you need dancehall to be a blogger, you're going to show them that you don't need it. And that's just where it is right now. So I want Jamaican people who follow me, I want you guys to know I love you guys to death. You know how I feel about Jamaica and Jamaicans. But this constant back and forth in the comments and threatening. The other day, people on the cargo video are saying, oh, tell this Trini to shut the fuck up. It's like, you don't even know that I'm Bajan. And then it's like Trini's coming to defend. And then it's like people reporting this. And it's like, yo, just stay away from this shit, man. Stay away from it. So my brand going forward is not Caribbean. I can't represent the Caribbean because I'm not socially Caribbean. So I'm going to have to find a niche and find a way to put myself in there. I'm not Caribbean fully because I can't have discussions on social topics with Caribbean people who live in the Caribbean. It makes no sense. So I have to drop that part of my brand. I have to. It's either that or watch my brand go downhill and tank. And I'm not willing to do that. I've spent too many years investing in this, investing in equipment. There's no way I'm going to let my blog, my brand, my platform tank because I really love dancehall and want to talk about it. So that is where we are right now. Cold turkey wasn't going to happen. It's been transitioning out. We are pushing out the social topics for Jamaica. There's no social topics for Grenada happening here. We're pushing out the dancehall music, and there will be no jab discussions and all of that here. I will still listen to the music, but until the engagement can improve with these groups of people, I'm not willing to put my brand in the front line of the fire anymore. I want to go on and be prosperous and do a lot of what everybody else is doing, which is growing and progressing. And I've spent way too long battling with people who do not want enlightenment. My grandmother always told me, when it is daytime by you, it does be night by many. And for me, I have to understand what that means. And a lot of people were like, talk about what you want, Babbzy. Talk about whatever it is. And I was listening to that advice, and I can't listen to it anymore. I have to talk about what the people who follow me and the progressive people want to hear about. And I can't idle anymore about cartel, and I can't do it. So that's just where we are. I've been vacationing. I might look darker. You know, I know you guys have been saying you're not seeing me as often. You will be seeing me weekly. The Milo of the week will be back, the podcast. The Juicy segment on IG will be back next Thursday. I'm going to let you know right now we're working on Bungie Garland being on that segment. We're coordinating the time. Dear Babbzy will be back the week after that. And the Caribbean Music Rundown will resume. As you know, it's carnival time. We will be bringing out all the new music except for what's happening in Grenada again, to avoid the drama and the attacks. I want to thank all of you non-Caribbean and Caribbean followers who've been attacked by people in my comments that are not used to that. I'm very embarrassed and ashamed that that's what my blog and my platform came to. I am guaranteeing going forward this kind of behavior will stop. I don't want that for my brand. I just don't want that type of engagement. I want my platform to be a learning place. I want people to know that fungi, turn cornmeal, and cuckoo is the same thing. I want people to know that Guinnep, Chanat, and Akis in Barbados is the same thing. Like, we need to learn. That's how you progress in life. And I cannot do this suck your mother shatabat. I'm so over that. So that's where we're going. Jamaicans that follow me, Grenadians that follow me, big up both of you. I apologize that it's come to this, but I cannot do anything else. If you want to make changes, talk to your people. If you want to make changes, Jamaicans are less affected by this because there are many Jamaican vloggers that can give people, advice out there. But for Grenada, I guess you guys can start getting some vloggers that kind of can take on the international market and get you guys brand out there and promoted, that's willing to allow their platform to be a place of turmoil. But I'm not willing to do it, and it's not gonna happen over here. So that's where we are. So just keep following me. Make sure you're following me on Instagram. My name there is Strictly Babbzy. I'm Strictly Babbzy everywhere. I'm gonna be back on Snapchat again. I just took a little bit of break to figure out what I want to do. I didn't want to go cold turkey like Nicole Bitchy did, so that's why I'm where I am. So thank you so much for the support over the last couple of months. I know it's been sporadic and erratic and all these things, but for now, people, as a Canadian, I have to show empathy, and I have to show empathy to the people who want it. So we are going to be doing a lot of the Caribbean topics that affect people in the diaspora, which is where I got my start. So that's where I'm going to have my end. You understand what I'm saying? So those of you in the Caribbean, hope that things change for you. I hope that you guys get the help that you need. I hope you get the mental enlightenment and stop living in mental slavery and understand that the world is moving forward and you're being left behind. I hope that you guys understand that if you do not stop this war against women, you will not have a society, because women give birth to children. You know what I mean? I posted the story yesterday. A woman in Jamaica, pregnant, and her 2 daughters murdered by her baby father. And somebody on the comments is like, stop talking about Jamaica. And I'm like, you can't win. They asked me to post it. I post it. There's comments and people mad. So I hope things work out. I love everybody. Big up everyone. It's never, ever, ever personal. It's always business over here. So if you guys want to leave a comment below and tell me how you feel, tell me what you think, go ahead. You know I will always reply. Big up everybody that's been there from day 1 or from day 100. We still trying forward, so we going to be here. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.